All right, so we verified that. We took this model that was a mess, right, and we beat on it a little bit. So the third part of this, I want to talk about, and actually I'm going to switch this up a little bit, because this is a good time to talk about this. So the way that this model is built right now is the body is here, the grille is a separate piece, the headlights are separate pieces on separate layers. All the little suspension bits, those are different pieces too. Now, for this case, I'm going to assume the wheels are existing parts because in reality they are. And let's take a look at this. There's all this stuff back here, and none of it is Boolean together, but none of it's open. As long as none of it's open, I can do this. Mesh. And I should crank the settings down just so it goes faster, but it's not too bad. It's going pretty quick. So I can mesh this. Boop. So let's move this over. Oh, let's just hide it. All right, so we've got this mesh part. And just for giggles, let's put it all on the same layer so that that one blinky light makes me crazy. All right, so first thing we want to do, so open mesh, nothing lights up. So we're good, right? Just to be paranoid, we're going to check everything. 29 meshes added, no naked edges, no non-manifold. All right, so we're good. Now, but if I look at this, these are all different pieces, right? Is that a problem? Well, I could go through here and go through the trouble of digging down here, finding the mesh booleans, which a lot of people don't know exist. And there you are. All right. I could come down here, find the mesh booleans, and start booleaning all this stuff together. Right? But why? Why would I want to do that when I have a client who may or may not decide that that makes all the difference between this part being perfect and being garbage? So, just as a strategy, unless you know you are done, and the only time a design project is ever done is when the deadline is passed or the money has run out, okay? Otherwise, design projects are never done. I always send stuff in separate pieces, because what happens if I go and Boolean all this stuff together and I send it and they say, this is great, except we want this to be here. Well, that's a pain, because now I have to go back and redo all of this stuff. Whereas if I keep this mesh as it sits, all I have to do is modify it and resend the mesh, and I'm done. And I can bill them for the change. Okay? So a little strategy discussion here, and the fact that how this is going to work. A 3D printer will recognize this two closed overlapping parts. Let's just assume these are meshes for right now. We'll see this the same as they would this. All right, so if I wireframe this, all right, the printer will see this as this. It's just going to discard anything that's inside here, because this is going to be a solid print. Unless this is wall thickness. If this is wall thickness, then you'll see this. But if it's just solid, it's going to do this. Okay? So I use that to my advantage a lot, and we'll just go ahead and leave stuff as separate bits, overlapping. Okay, let's just look at these real quick. See how these are overlapping? These are touching. So as long as these are touching, see that? They'll print. And it'll make a solid part out of it. And then I still have the capability of editing this later if they decide that that is the way that they wanted it. So just a little strategic advantage for yourself when you're setting this stuff up. That's pretty much what I try and do. I always try and set it up where it can be saved.